In this episode, I'm going to show you how you can create your own menu API to easily create GUIs that players can interact with. So first create the project setup, and if you don't know how to do that, you can watch the second or third episode of the beginner series. First, let's create a package where we put all of our menu stuff. And the first thing that we're going to create is an interface called menu. Since a menu is something that is going to hold an inventory, we need to extend inventory holder. And now we're going to define a few basic methods that any menu should have. The first method is the click method that takes a player and a slot. The player is the player that clicked on the inventory, and the slot is the number of the slot that the click has happened in. The next method is a set item method with slot and an item stack. Now a second set item method with slot, item stack, item, and additionally a consumer. If you don't know, a consumer is a functional interface that we in this example used to pass an action that should be executed when this item in this slot is clicked. And the action expects a parameter of type player, and this will be the player that clicked on this item. Now the next method is a method called onSetItems. And we will use this method to place the items in the actual inventory when a player opens it. Inside the onSetItems method, we will call the setItem method to place the items. And now one last method that will be a default method, because it will be the same for any kind of menu that we have. And it's called open and expects a player as a parameter. And as you probably guessed, this will just open inventory for the player. And the getInventory method comes from the inventory holder, which we extended. But before the player gets the open inventory, we want to call the onSetItems method, because this is the place where the items are going to be set into the inventory. So let's first call onSetItems here. And now the next thing we're going to do is we create a class called simpleMenu, and this will be the implementation of this menu here. As you can see, those are only the method heads, and they don't have a body with logic inside of them. And so we're just going to implement the menu and then implement the methods. All of them except for the open method. So the first thing is we're going to create a local field. It will be a final inventory with the name inventory. And this is what we're going to return in the getInventory method. And now we need to create a constructor where we assign the inventory variable. So create a constructor, public simple menu. And the parameters that we need to create a menu will be the rows. So the size of the inventory and the title of the inventory. So let's first enter the title, which will be of type string title. And for the rows, we will use an enum, so that when we use the simple menu somewhere, we only have a specific set of rows that we can choose from. So let's create an enum here, public enum rows, and it will have a constructor with the number of rows. So int rows, and also a local variable slots, and the number of slots is equivalent to the rows times 9, because every row in an inventory has 9 slots. Let's actually call the variable size. Now let's create a getter for it, get size, and for the enum values we will have 1, and in the constructor we pass 1 as a number, 2, 5, because I believe there are only 5 rows possible in an inventory. And now in the constructor of the simple menu class, we can add rows and rows. Then we assign the inventory variable. This inventory is equal to bucket create inventory. The inventory holder is this, so this class. Next parameter is the size, and that will be rows get size. And in the last parameter you set the title. And now for the click, we want to create a hash map where we store all the consumers, so all the actions that are bound to a specific slot. So private final map. The first one will be an integer and the second one will be consumer with a player generic, just as we did here. And let's call that actions, and this is equal to new hash map. And now remember, this method will be called when a player attempts to click on this slot. Now we try to look into the actions map and see if there's any slot, if there's any action associated with the slot. So final consumer player action is equal to this dot actions, so the map dot get slot. And now if the action is not null, we simply execute the action by typing action.accept player. Now the action that we set with the setItem method will be executed, and the player that clicked will be passed as a parameter to that action. And now let's continue with the setItem method with the action parameter, and inside here we're just going to do this.actions, so the hash map again, .put, the slot and the action that we provided here. And we actually have to set the item that is passed here into the inventory as well. So get inventory.setItem. Let's take the slot and the item. And for the setItem method without an action, we just call this setItem method in the first one, pass the slot, the item, and for the action we pass an empty action. So this means when we execute this method to set an item, nothing will be executed when the player clicked on this item. And now the menu API is already done. We just need to create the listeners to make sure that the players can't take out any items from the inventory. So let's create a new package, listeners, and inside of that a class called inventory listener. Implement listeners, and let's create an event handler for the onClick event in inventories. OnClick, and this is the inventory click event. First we get the inventory that has been clicked. So inventory clicked inventory is equal to event get clicked inventory. And if this inventory is null, we're just going to return. And the clicked inventory variable can be null if a player opened an inventory but clicks outside of the inventory. And now we just need to check if the inventory is one of our menu inventories. If you remember, we let the inventory interface extend inventory holder, and with clicked inventory get holder, we can get the inventory holder. Then we just have to check the type of the holder to determine if the inventory is a menu that we created or just a random inventory from the game. So if not clicked inventory get holder instance of menu. So this means if the clicked inventory is not a menu. So here, if clicked inventory is not a menu, then we simply want to return. And we are here if the clicked inventory is one of our custom GUIs. And in that case, we want to cancel the event. So when a player clicks an item, the item cannot be moved. And now we want to call the click method on our menu. And we pass the player who clicked. We get it with event.getWhoClicked. And we need to cast that to a player. And the next parameter is the slot that the player clicked in. So event get slot. Now we need to register the listener with get server, get plugin manager, register events, new inventory listener, and this. And now we can test the API by creating a menu. So let's create a new package for that, test, and inside here we're going to create a menu where a player can kill himself. So kill menu and extend simple menu. Then you need to hover over here and create a constructor. If you say the kill menu should always have, let's say, 3 rows and a specific title that does not change, then you can remove those parameters and hard code them here. So let's say the kill menu should have always 3 rows and the title should always be this, for example. And I actually forgot to do something. So go back into the simple menu class, make it abstract, and also make the onSetItems method abstract. So before void, type abstract, remove the override and the method body and replace it with a semicolon. Now inside the kill menu, you will get prompted to create the onSetItems method. This is a bit more developer friendly. So inside here, we're going to set the items. The kill menu will only have one item in slot 13. So let's call the method setItem in slot 13. For the second parameter, we need to pass an item. We haven't created that yet. And for the third parameter, this will be the action that is going to be executed when a player clicks on this item. You can do that in lambda notation. So type player, arrow, and then inside the braces here you can write any code, and this code will be executed when this player clicks on this item. Let's create the item stack, kill item equal to new item stack. Let's say material.barrier and item meta will be kill item get item meta, and let's set the display name. Let's do it the paper way. So component.text, and let's use red, and then set the item meta back to the item. So kill item is set item meta. Now inside here, this will be executed when the player clicks this item. So let's first send the player a message. Send rich message in red color. You killed yourself, and set the player health to 0. And this is already it. In just 30 lines with this API you can create an interactive menu. And to open the menu we are just going to create a simple command with the name kill GUI, for example. Register the command, get command kill GUI, set executor, new kill command. Let's create the class in a commands package and just check if the sender is not an instance of a player. Sender, send message, only players can use this, return. And to open the inventory now, you just have to type new kill menu dot open and player, and don't forget to return. And if you don't know how to create commands yet, you can watch episode number 5 and number 6 of my beginner series. And this is how it looks in game. When you execute the command, you have the GUI opened with the 3 rows we specified, the title, and inside the center the item with the title. And now when you click on the item, the specified action will be executed and you die. And now let's go over it one more time so you understand everything. So when the player executes the kill command, we create a new instance of the kill menu, and then we call from the menu interface the open method, which first executes the onSetItems method, which you can see here. And inside this method we create a new item, the kill item, set the display name, and now inside here we execute the setItem method to set the item that we just created on slot 13, and let this action execute when a player clicks on this item. Inside the method, the action that we provided alongside with the slot will be put into the actions map, and the item will be set into the inventory. And now when the inventory is open and a player clicks inside of it, the event will be cancelled so that a player cannot pick up the items inside the inventory. And on the menu we call the click method with the player that clicked and the slot that the player clicked on. And inside the click method, you can see right here, we get the action associated with the slot that the player clicked on. And if there is an action specified for this slot, we execute the action and pass the player that clicked on this item as a parameter to the action.